I'm gonna put this right there. And we
Okay.
just keep that right there.
All right.
And so how are you?
Well, I guess I'm all right.
You guess you're all right?
Yeah.
That's good. Well, tell me about your sir. You were in the 3rd Army
Yes, sir.
in Patton's Army, right?
80th Infantry Division.
But tell me about where you're from and sort of where you grew up and went to school and wherever, and sort of before getting into the service.
I was born in Washington County, Kay Hill.
Yeah. Right.
My folks moved to Lyons on a farm between Lyons and Caldwell.
Right.
And I spent 18 years there until I was drafted into the service. I went to school in Lyons, and they did away with the school and consolidated it with Somerville.
I see. Yeah.
So I went 2 years in Somerville, and I was a little bit behind, and I got my little pink slip.
Right. Yeah.
And so I stayed in school to finish the 1943 year, and then I reported for my Army physical in June, I believe it was June 19th, and then I went home till July the 4th to get everything that I wanted to get done, and I reported to San Antonio on July the 5th.
And 43?
43.
So you reported to Fort Sam?
Fort Sam. And from there they shipped me to Camp Keller in California. To anti-aircraft, 40 millimeter anti-aircraft training center.
I see.
Took my basic there and the 40 millimeter training. I finished there. They transferred us to Fort Bliss, Texas.
In El Paso?
El Paso. And we were in a type of armored infantry, I guess you would say. It was armored half tracks with machine guns mounted on the four quads, machine gun quads, 50 caliber.
Right.
We trained in those and took some additional infantry training and some night problem work, and then they shipped me to Camp Chaffee, Arkansas. And on the train ride from Camp Chaffee, Arkansas from El Paso, from Fort Bliss to Camp Chaffee, Arkansas, I was looking out my air-conditioned train window because it was open,
Right.
fresh air.
Right.
And what did I see but a sign that says Dime Box, Texas.
I'll be darned.
Caldwell, Texas came up next. Hearn, Texas came up next. And we detrained there and took a 30-minute exercise session. Got on the train again and then went up through East Texas to Camp Chaffee, Arkansas.
I'll be darned.
We trained 16 weeks of advanced infantry training there. And shortly after D-Day, they shipped us to Camp Miles Standish, Maryland. I'd never heard of it before. And we did some advanced live fire infantry tactic training there for several weeks. I don't know, 2, 3, 4 weeks, something like that.
Right.
And then we loaded on a troop transport. It was a freighter that was converted to carry freight and troops. And it was probably about 500 of us on that freighter.
It was a long ride.
That was a mess. It was just steaming hot down there, and everybody was seasick and smelled like.
Man. Yeah.
It took us 10 days because we was traveling in a Navy convoy.
So you didn't get one of those nice converted cruise ships like some of them got. No, you were in an old freighter.
I was ready to get off that thing when we got to England.
Barely a place to sit. So you went from Maryland to
England.
To England.
And I think it was Liverpool. I don't know. After I left the States, I was lost most of the time. I didn't know where I was at.
Right.
And we stayed in a replacement depot there for about 2 weeks, I guess.
Yeah.
And, they taking shots and what have you and stuff, and getting us brief for what to look for.
Mm-hmm.
And then we loaded on a small ship of some kind, crossed the channel, and debarked into a landing craft, and went ashore on Omaha Beach.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, that was already cleared out. It
Sure.
was just a dry landing there.
Right.
And then we hiked.
About
in.
what date do you know what date that was about?
Somewhere in early September.
Okay, of 44.
44. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And we hiked in about 5 or 6 miles, I guess, close to Lahar, somewhere to another staging area.
Mm-hmm.
And then we took the last bath we had in a cold running stream of water.
Oh my goodness.
In one of the French farmers' irrigation ditches.
Uh-huh.
And then from there, they sent us to the different infantry divisions that we were going to serve as replacement for, and I went to the 80th Infantry Division.
80th Infantry.
And they were just had just crossed the Moselle River when I joined the outfit there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I got my first taste of.
So talk about that. What kind of resistance did you experience, and what?
Just
You were just you were. What was your job? Did you carry a rifle, or were you?
Yeah, I was an infantryman, and I was placed in an ammunition and pioneer platoon, is what they called it,
Uh-huh.
in a headquarters company. Well, it was actually an engineering outfit,
Right.
and I just did whatever, dug holes and packed piggyback stuff around.
Yeah.
And they had been some real heavy fighting just before we crossed, before I got there to Moselle River.
Uh-huh.
Pontamousson Hill, and some other place there had pretty heavy casualties. Is the reason I went in.
Mm-hmm.
They brought us in there because
What hill was that? Mousson?
Pontamousson.
Pontamousson.
Pontamousson. Yeah.
Okay.
And after that, we moved a little ways toward the Seal River, and we stayed there about 10 days in a kind of defensive position, like brought in supplies and stuff so we could move further, because as we crossed the Moselle River, George Patton's tanks ran out of gasoline.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't able to move until such time as he would be able to replace the supplies for those tanks.
Mm-hmm.
And when we moved out of to cross the Seal River, it had rained like 3 or 4 days, just steady downpour. And when we moved out of our positions to go to where we were supposed to cross the Seal, about a mile, we were on a little old gravel road, and about a mile we had to wade water from anywhere from ankle deep to shoulder, armpit deep.
Wow.
Because the river had backed out, and they didn't want to get into. We could go down that road and not be seen. See,
Uh-huh.
so we had to stay on that thing, and we had one little short guy that he had to get a hold of 2 of the tall ones because his pack kept floating him up, and he'd like drift off. He had to hold on to 2 of the taller boys. So,
So this is about a mile?
About a mile.
And which river was this?
Seal.
The Seal River?
Seal River.
Now this was getting towards the time of year that it was starting to get pretty
it,
cold, wasn't
it? It was cold.
Yeah.
It was in early November.
Right. We weren't into December yet during Battle of the Bulge type cold, but it was still getting pretty cold,
yeah, it
right?
was pretty cold and
Yeah.
wet. And well, then when we crossed the Seal, we got into the Maginot Line, and then after that, I'm not sure just what happened, but anyway, on December the 6th, I think it was, they pulled us out of the line. The 80th had been in constant contact with the enemy for 102 days.
Mm-hmm.
And they pulled us out of there and sent us to some town in France where we got new uniform, new boots,
Take a bath.
take a bath, take
Yeah.
a hot shower,
Right.
5 minutes.
Uh-huh.
And we stayed there, I think about 10 days maybe. Then we had orders to move out and relieve another infantry division. When we moved out and they were into their positions, they were moving out to go back to relief duty.
Mm-hmm.
The orders were changed. We turned around and came back, got on the quartermaster trucks. They went and got back in their old foxholes.
Mm-hmm.
By then it had started raining and clouds were right down to ground level. Had orders to get on those trucks and they were going to Luxembourg. The Battle of the Bulge had developed.
Mm-hmm.
Before the quartermaster drivers, this was going on, back way behind the front where there was no danger much to anything, unless airplanes, but it's so fogged in that there wasn't any of those flying. And when the orders came to move out, it was all lights, full headlights will be utilized on every truck in this convoy. And we hadn't seen a bright light in 6 or 8 months. So you know what? We thought of George Patton. Mm-hmm. But after we got through the ordeal, we realized why, and it was a good move. He had all figured it out. He was a sharp old boy. Because he knew they couldn't spot us. And then it started snowing. Mm-hmm. And by the time we got to Luxembourg to get off the trucks, we were nearly froze. Mm-hmm. But anyway, we traveled 150 miles in about 10 hours' time. Mm-hmm. Now, Army convoy, that is moving. Mm-hmm. But those trucks were running about 20 miles an hour because they could see where they were going. So
right.
We were set up and waiting in Luxembourg. And the Germans didn't even know we were there, but the division was all set, artillery in place and everything. And we tore them up pretty bad.
Yeah.
And then somewhere after that, a few days after that, we were moving in to make contact with the troops in Bastogne. Mm-hmm. And that was the roughest territory I ever saw. That was gullies and crags and just looked like a Navasota river bottom. Mm-hmm. But anyway, our outfit actually never made contact with the 101st, but our regimental commander was killed there. Mm-hmm. Because he came up to survey the situation. Mm-hmm. And I was carrying hot food up to the rifle companies.
Right.
And the company commander told him, "Colonel, don't go as far as you go." But he didn't listen. He probably had a mission. And in a little while we heard the burp guns take off, and that was it.
What was his name?
I believe it was Colonel McVicker.
McVicker?
McVicker.
Mm-hmm. And he was your regimental commander?
Yeah, regimental commander.
Right. Whenever anybody ever talks about the Bulge, the thing they talk about is the weather, how cold it was.
Oh, yeah.
It's indescribable. Yeah. How cold it was.
The first guys that got off the truck, well, you normally, you just grab a seat and hop off. And the first 2 guys that they fell off like a chunk of ice. Yeah. Because they were just about froze. Right. So everybody had to have help getting off the truck like a bunch of old ladies.
How'd you stay warm? Or not warm? How'd you keep from?
Well, I'm glad
frostbite or from.
I'm glad we didn't go any further because that would have developed shortly after that. Right. But we put on everything, and we finally the thing that helped us the most was to take our raincoats and put those on and pull it up around their head and stuff. Because and the trucks didn't have any tarps on them or anything. We were open in the back, and that cold wind was just tearing us up.
Right. So your unit, what kind of resistance did it encounter during the Bulge, or during
Well-
102 days? Or
102 days, it was sporadic at the times. It was pretty bad. Sometimes it wasn't.
yeah,
Right after the Moselle River crossing, well, I was with the ammunition and pioneer truck that I served with, to help carry the supplies out and stuff. It got bogged down, and the Germans let us have a pretty good taste of their artillery and mortar fire. The truck driver was wounded, and he finally managed to back his truck out of the mud back to the road. And normally they wouldn't put a truck in a town if they could help it, not a small town anyway, because it was easier to see it in a town. They try to keep it in a concealed, camouflage in bushes or something. And anyway, he pulled his truck into there. Well, they continued to pound us with those mortars and whatever it was. They set the truck on fire. Well, they quit then. They knew what they was after. Of course, I lost my only pair of breeches, extra breeches I had.
when they set the truck on fire.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
All my things was on the truck. See?
Right.
And one of our Jeep drivers, the motor officer's Jeep driver, got killed there. Got a direct hit by an artillery shell.
But were you wounded?
Well, I was hit, but it wasn't very serious. I kept going. I went to the aid station and got some powder put on it. And
Where were you hit?
right up above the kidney on the right side.
Just
here.
shrapnel or?
Yeah,
some sort of-
well, I don't know what it was. There was a puncture wound in there, and so.
It didn't knock you down or anything.
Oh no! It just like something set me on fire back then.
Yeah.
It was hot.
Right.
And I knew something had happened, so I went to the aid station. And well, when I got there, what they was working on, I didn't need to stay around.
Right.
It was a lot worse than I was.
Yeah, sure.
So just going on with my regular duties there,
Right.
minus the truck.
Yeah. Yeah. So you would do your duties, whatever, dig holes,
Yeah,
deliver
yeah,
hot food and
yeah.
everything. You did this all with the rifle on your back?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then when we got into getting ready for the Siegfried and Maginot line, or Maginot and Siegfried line, I was sent to a demolition school. They taught me how to make different type of charges, and they had one that was particularly used at that time because they call it a I forgot what they called it, but the explosives were formed so that they were like a beehive. They were built up high and then it was open, and that would cause that force to go down and penetrate in one place in order to pop those lids and stuff on the pillboxes. And I did get to use that on I believe it was the R River crossing. The rifle troops had overrun a German ammunition dump. They had probably 400 or 500 rounds of artillery ammunition in it.
Right.
So they sent me and another guy up there with a satchel charge to blow that thing up. And we went up, set it off. Well, it didn't blow like it's supposed to, because we didn't have enough explosives, because the ammunition that was stored there was stored in boxes, see. And we didn't have time to try to set that up. We just had to put our charges in there and go.
Yeah.
So we went back, and they sent us back again with about twice as much the German TNT that we had before. Well, it did blow then. It was just like the air was full of artillery shells flying up in the air, spewing flames and stuff out of the powder that had set off. We fixed it where they couldn't use it.
Right.
That was the only time that I really used any of my real training there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And another time, when we got to Kassel, Germany, we were about a mile, I guess, or a mile, 2 miles out of Kassel, in a small community there. And they looked me up and he handed me a bazooka, and another guy had 2 rounds of bazooka ammunition, and he told us that there was 6 Tiger Royals coming down that road over, and we were to go over there and, delay them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I thought he knew how to fire and load a bazooka, but he didn't know anything about it, and I had never fired one. We were supposed to got that training in Arkansas, but they shipped us out before we completed it. So I had no earthly idea of what to do with that bazooka.
Right. Huh.
But those 6 Tiger Royals, they came within several hundred yards of where we were at. But there was a railroad track there, and they were running abreast to that railroad track. Well, when they went over that railroad embankment, the ground was quivering and shaking with those things where we were at, because they're huge monsters. And when they went over that railroad track, the gasoline moved to the back of their tanks, and the intake, all 6 of them just shut off. Dead quiet. We couldn't figure what happened, but that's what it was. If that hadn't happened, we'd have been in bad trouble, because they had sent all of our TDs along off to some other place, 610 TD battalion, but they had been sent to another mission on another mission.
Yeah.
We were just sitting there raw doughboys, just with a couple of sticks and M1 rifles.
Right. Right.
But anyway, we came out of that all right.
Yes, sir.
And that Kassel was a funny town. I got to see part of it, but it had been bombed, and it set off one of those firestorms, and the buildings were there, but they were just completely burned out inside. Just nothing but the 4 walls standing there.
Yeah.
So then we moved back down toward Nuremberg. I don't know why we went that way, but anyway, that's the way they wanted us to go. And we stayed in Nuremberg probably 2-3 days, something like that. Kind of got some new supplies in and stuff. And then we moved on down and went into Austria. That was the goofiest river crossing I ever made. Before that, we crossed rivers like, I don't know, there was nothing but rivers where we was going through. Looked like every time we crossed one, we were right up against another one. They wasn't very big, but they were rivers. Well, that river was the Inns River.
The Inns?
N-I-N-N. And we crossed a town called Braunau. It was the birthplace of Adolf Hitler.
In Austria.
In Austria. And when we got there to go across the river, the whole town was turned out on the riverbank greeting us.
I'll be darned.
And Burgermeister told everybody to put out the word, everybody in that town, to get out there and welcome us in. And they had a PW camp there, and I got a picture somewhere, I believe. But anyway, there was 2 GIs. I guess when the Germans realized that we were crossing the river, that was it. They opened the gates at the PW camp, and these 2 guys commandeered a horse and buggy and 2 black stovepipe hats. And they come driving into Braunau.
I'll be darned.
They would have a ball.
That was the POW camp in Braunau?
Well, it was right outside of Braunau.
Right,
I don't know, several miles outside of the town, but it was right close to there.
Yeah.
And then we went off into something that looked like Navasota River bottom again. I got a picture of that. Here, I thought I was in Navasota River bottom, and that's when we received orders to cease all military operations.
Right.
The war had been.
This is when you were still in Austria?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
somewhere in Austria, I think.
Right. Did you have much or did you personally come in any contact with Patton?
I saw General Patton one time. It was right around the after the Moselle River crossing.
Uh-huh.
We were having pretty heavy casualties trying to go over, and I can't remember what the name of that thing was, but it was a long oval rise
Uh-huh.
of ground,
Yeah.
and that's
Oh, I see the stovepipe hat. Yeah. Now these were POWs or these
No,
were,
these were buddies of mine.
Oh, these are buddies of yours, yeah.
Yeah, we were in the same platoon together.
and that was at Brown or at the
Outside
camp?
of Brown, I was down in some kind of forest or something.
So these were two friends of yours?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. I might want to scan it. I'm going to get some pictures from you and take them and scan them for the show. So
Anyway,
yeah.
that mound of dirt that we couldn't get over,
Uh-huh.
that's when General Patton came up,
Mm-hmm.
and he personally walked to wherever he wanted to go and observed the thing, and then we sat there for another 2 or 3 days. I don't remember how long. And then they took a squad down to company headquarters, or platoon down to headquarters,
Mm-hmm.
and they gave us a briefing as to what he had set up to take that. And he took it.
Yeah.
This guy that was on the show here a while back, the artilleryman,
Uh-huh.
he talked about how much stuff they could fire.
All right. Uh-huh.
He must have been in
Yeah.
that, because when that thing started off at 4 o'clock in the morning,
Uh-huh.
the whole sky lit up,
Right.
and it just like it was gonna never end.
Uh-huh.
And when they got through with it, they just walked over it. There wasn't nothing but stubs of trees standing on that thing.
Wow.
He just blew it off,
Yeah.
top off the dirt.
Wow.
He wanted it,
Right.
and he saved a lot of guys' lives there, because
Right.
we had tried to take it a couple of times, and they had pretty heavy casualties. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you, when you got the word that the war was over, then what happened? How long before you came home, or what were your duties after that?
after that, we went to a little town called Mauerkirchen, Austria,
Uh-huh.
and we had outposts along the roads, and the German 6th Army surrendered to the American 3rd Army,
Mm-hmm.
and we sat there for about 3 days, day and night, and those Germans came driving in their trucks,
Mm-hmm.
bringing all their artillery stuff with them. I got pictures of quite a bit of that.
They were just anxious to surrender, right?
Oh yeah, they were, because the Russians
Because the Russians were
were on them on the other side. They didn't
Right.
have any option. That was the only way out.
Right.
And there was a hundred, and I think they said it was 120,000 in that 6th German Army.
Yeah.
And they had a railroad track out there somewhere. I don't know whether it was just a normal track, they just put trains on it, or whether they built one out there or what. But anyway, they went through a discharge procedure there. They got them to park their vehicles and their guns and all that stuff in certain areas in the fields and stuff. There's a big valley out there, and it was just loaded with German equipment.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was this train. They had different cars, and I was in the car that had to inspect all of their baggage that they carried, the knapsacks and stuff, for guns, cameras, knives, and anything that looked, suspicious or that we might need to check further. And see that they all got a haircut and dusted with DDT. I went home scratching.
Yeah.
But I don't know how long it lasted. About a week, couple of weeks, I guess, before we got. But Then when they got through there, then they sent them on down the line. They put them on trucks and took them out to different towns, I guess, in different areas. And after that, then we got sent to Czechoslovakia. We stayed there about a month, I guess. And we stayed in a high-rise hotel that was in Marienbad, Czechoslovakia, and it was kind of like mineral wells, mineral baths and stuff for the elite of Europe. They'd come and party and take their mineral baths and stuff. And the only thing was a few bullet holes in the depot roof. Other than that, the town wasn't touched at all. All those hotels were. So we filled them up with GIs, but we didn't stay there for a month. I guess they figured out how much it was costing.
Yeah.
We got moved to an old dirty PW camp. To stay there and set up roadblocks with the Russians on the border of Austria and Czechoslovakia.
I see.
And then we moved back to a place, Zandhofen, Austria. And Adolf had a Hitler Youth School there, big army type thing, you know. And they moved the whole regiment, I guess it was, into that. Into that, we stayed there until got ready to be sent back home.
Sent back home.
Yeah.
So you came back home when? In 1945?
Latter part. I was discharged on January the 24th, I believe, 1946.
46.
Yeah.
So you came back home and came back where? Where were you stationed when you came back home?
I just came into Fort Dix, New Jersey, and they scattered us out to different areas or places closer to home. And I went to Camp Fannin, Texas. That's where I got my discharge.
Where is that?
Camp Fannin, it's somewhere up around Paris.
I see.
I came through Paris.
Yeah. And that's where you got your discharge?
Then I got discharged, and then I just took a took a train to Caldwell. And the first night at Caldwell, there was no buses or nothing out of there, so I just crawled into the bench in the railroad station and folded up, made me a pillow and went to sleep. Till the next morning to got down to the bus station, got a bus, came on home.
To Somerville?
Lyons.
To Lyons, yeah. To Lyons. And then what happened? Then what'd you do after that? What was your job? What was your career?
Well, after that, I worked in a little grocery store, meat market, in Lyons for 6 months. And then a buddy of mine found a job over here with Humble Oil at that time, and we came over here together and worked at a service station for about 6 months or a year, something like that.
We're here in Bryan?
Bryan, yeah. It was right down here across from City Hall. It used to be 30th and Texas Avenue, I believe, where it was. And then while I was working there, a kid that was in the boarding house, stayed in the boarding house. It was Scott's boarding house, and six single men had rooms in there. He'd come overnight and talk when I was on the night shift. He found out that I had also picked up some telephone experience. He was working for the telephone company at that time. He told me about that, and then I went up and applied, and I was hired and went to work for Southwestern States Telephone Company. And I stayed there until they sold the company about 12 years later, I guess. And then GTE bought it out, and I continued to work for them in different capacities: cable splicer, exchange repairman, switching technician, and then the last thing I did was a toll network analyzer. I worked for him on special circuits
I see.
until I retired in 1989.
In '89.
Yeah.
With the phone company.
Yeah.
I see.
41 years, 41 plus years.
How long have you and Minnie been married?
I got married in 1950.
50?
So it'd be 56 years.
Okay. So after you were here you meet her here in Bryan or in Lyons?
I found her out at Snook.
Down at Snook? Yeah. Wasn't far away.
Yeah. A friend of mine that had lived in Lyons, he was working as a used car salesman over here. And in the evening when I didn't have nothing to do, he would have a prospect. Well, he'd come by and pick me up, and we'd go try to sell him a vehicle he had.
Right.
And so he got to know one girl out there, and then she had a friend, and Minnie was a friend. So he took me along on a blind date, and that was it.
And that was it.
That was it.
Now y'all have kids or grandkids and.
Yeah, we had 4 children. 2 girls and 2 boys. Our oldest daughter was the one that got killed in Weimar. Was murdered in Weimar.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. The railroad killer. Railroad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Her and her husband. He was a minister for a church in Weimar.
Right.
They were murdered down there.
Right.
And our oldest son, he worked as a game warden for 20 some odd years. He retired here last year. Our youngest son is working for Texas Digitals out at College Station. And our youngest daughter is works for First National Bank right in Bryan.
Right.
And we got 9, 10 grandkids, 1 great grandkid.
Oh my goodness.
So we got a herd of them.
Who's the Marine here?
That is the youngest grandson. And he's in Camp Pendleton?
Pendleton in California?
California, yeah. He's going into through his final training period with the Navy SEALs.
I see.
So he wanted he was too dull around here that he wanted some.
Yeah.
So he had his fill here lately.
Right.
Hopefully he'll make it. He's made all the rest of it.
Yeah. Now the bigger picture
That's me.
Is that you?
That was me. Yeah.
So that was.
I didn't even have whiskers to shave at that time. And the other picture is Minnie's uncle for World War I. Yeah.
So how old would you have been in that picture?
I was about 18 and a half years old.
I see.
I was 18 in December, and that was made in probably the first part of September.
So that was during your training, right?
Yeah.
During your
Basic training.
Right. Well, let me see what kind of pictures you got. Thanks.
Okay. Got a lot of stuff. I put them in there because they're getting kind of fragile.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a good thing.
And let me see if I can get over here. Okay. This is at Mauerkirchen where the German 6th Army surrendered their stuff that they brought in.
Yeah. And this your division was the 80th, right?
80th Infantry Division, yeah. That's the Hitler Youth School there. It was a regular army barracks type thing, but it was very elaborate.
Now, did you collect these papers just while you were going through these towns? Is that?
No, the division, they gave them to us.
I see.
They put out one every so often, and everybody had the option to take one if they wanted it.
Wow. Some amazing things here. What else you got here? You got some artifacts here, right?
This is a
Oh wow.
training company when I was in the Aircraft Artillery Training School at
Camp Callan.
Camp Callan, California. And I'm right down here somewhere into the level.
Which one do you think you are?
Right there.
That's you right there? Yeah. I might take this and be able. I don't know if I can scan the whole thing, but I can scan the part of it where you're here, and I can. Yeah, that's good at Camp Callan. Wow, that's a lot of guys.
Yeah. About 180, about 150 or 80 something like that.
Yeah.
This is German bayonets.
How'd you come by these?
Well, when I was in that search car, I relieved them
Yeah.
of a couple of them.
Right.
Both of them was scabbard, but only one had the scabbard attached to it.
Wow. Yeah, I might get you to bring these with you when you come on Wednesday. What's the flag?
I'll bring one.
Yeah.
And this is, I don't know where, I think I found that in the Hitler Youth School somewhere in the...
Is this a Nazi flag?
Yes.
And this was in the Hitler Youth School?
Yeah. It was in one of their closets or something.
Wow. My goodness. Look at that. Gee. Yeah, I want you to bring that with you also. Wow. That is something there. And you got that in the Hitler Youth School?
Yeah.
Just hanging in the closet, huh?
Yeah, it was somewhere in the building there.
Right.
I just don't remember just where it was at. But, that's I think that's an Edelweiss fire, and it's got Nuremberg.
Right.
And that stuff I just picked it up. It's laying all around the streets and stuff, old abandoned, bombed out buildings.
Right. What's that? Is that just a armband or what is that?
I don't really know what that was.
There's something else you found.
Yeah, just something was laying around somewhere.
Yeah.
That's I got a box full of just junk that, like I say, you just find. They had medals and stuff for everything imaginable.
Right.
That's Kaiser Wilhelm.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I was going to bring this box with you and we'll just show these things. Or show some of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this here was on a German paratrooper that bit the dust in the Battle of the Bulge.
Yeah.
They were laying out beside him and I picked it up off the ground.
Wow. is just sort of a history of the 80th?
Yeah, I got a book here. It gives us quite a bit of information. This is a reproduction of that book. But the reason I did it, that book was getting old, kind of brittle too.
Mm-hmm.
But the first 8 pages deals with the conception of the division when it was organized, first formed, and then the rest of the book. And after that, then we pick up the Battle of Rangitan. That's the beginning of it. That's the first main battle in France that the division was in.
But so you would have been involved in that?
No,
right?
I wouldn't.
No, you weren't there
No,
yet.
I hadn't. No,
That's right. You weren't there
That
yet.
was the latter part of August, I believe.
So
I got
44.
there about the 15th, somewhere about the middle of September.
Right. Of 44.
There's the Battle of Boylston.
I'll borrow that
Yeah.
from you. And do you have any other picture? Like you got some more pictures in there? Some pictures of you? Is this a smaller of that?
Yeah, that's
Good. Yeah, I want to get that and scan it. Let's see what else you got there.
This is the old original book. It's quite a bit smaller but it's.
Oh, the same book?
Yeah, but it's getting
okay.
real brittle.
Yeah. But it's the same thing as it's over here, right?
Do you want to take that book with you?
Yeah, I'd like to.
I'd
Just
like
for
to
some
keep
background.
this one,
Yeah.
so it won't get-
Oh, yeah. As long as you got
It's
that.
original.
And is that you?
Yeah, that's Meyer Kirkin, somewhere in Meyer Kirkin, Austria after the war.
Good. I like pictures of the. These are anti-aircraft.
That is German artillery pieces that came in when the Sixth Army surrendered.
Right. Well, that's a good
That
picture.
close
Yeah.
to where we were.
Right. Is this you?
No, let me see who that is.
Somebody there?
Yeah, it might have been me, Camp California.
Now here's some other guy. Here's the guy in the top hat.
Yeah. That's when we got the news that it was over with.
Yeah. Are you one of those guys, or did you
No,
just take the picture?
I took the picture.
Oh, I see.
That's just a postcard. And that's the hotel that I stayed in.
Oh, the one in
Austria, in Czechoslovakia.
Czechoslovakia.
See, there's 26 hotels in that town made up of hotels.
What's this?
That's a pillbox.
Oh, okay. That's a German pillbox?
Yeah, that's. I don't remember whether it's I think it's Maginot Line pillbox.
That's interesting. I like that.
Now that thing there, take that out. I'll give you one of these if you want to take it with you, and then I'll also give you. Wife and I did a.
Oh, okay. This is sort of a synopsis of.
Oh,
good.
Basically what I said.
Yeah, good. This really helps me out a lot. That way I can. And this is sort of your itinerary in Europe.
It follows this sheet here. That's the only way I had of associating days or time.
So this was the 80th, and then you just sort of made this from that kind of a date thing. That's great.
That's all I had to guide me as to where I was at really
Right.
in a specific time.
Yeah, right. So how old are you?
I'll be 82 in December.
I see. Well, you look good for 82.
Well, I feel pretty good.
So how long have y'all lived in this house?
About 50 years.
Is that right? So you all moved here pretty soon after you got married, I guess?
Yeah, we got married in 50. We built the house here in 55.
Uh-huh.
Moved in. We've been here ever since.
Right.
We'll be here 51 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And your daughter's name that works for First National, what's her name? Kim
Calloway.
Kim Calloway, right.
Clay Calloway.
Clay Calloway, right. Right. And your two sons' names are?
Kirby is the youngest one.
Uh-huh.
And he works for Texas Digital.
Yeah.
And Keith
Uh-huh.
is the oldest one, and he worked for Texas Parks and Wildlife as a game warden.
Right.
For 20, 24, 25 years.
Right.
And now he's working for Robertson County Sheriff's Department.
Oh, I see. And your oldest daughter's name was, what was her name?
Karen.
Karen? And, well, this is great. This is a great story. I love to tell stories of just you were a doughboy, right? You were just a infantry guy on the ground just doing his job.
Just as low as you could get.
Were you scared?
Well,
Sure.
I only met one guy that said he wasn't scared.
And he was lying?
No.
Who was that?
I don't believe he was. It was a young man from Kentucky.
Uh-huh.
And we were crossing the Sar River.
Right.
And we were piggybacking ammunition and water and rations down to as close as we could get to the river side.
Mm-hmm.
And on their trip back from taking their load down, the Germans unleashed a volley of screaming minis on them. And when they got to where we was in the buildings, they were talking about it. Said, "Was you scared?" And other ones was with him. Said, "You don't know what scared is."
Mm-hmm.
He said, "No." He said, "I really wasn't scared." He said, "But I thought." He said it was light enough to shoot dice, and I thought I'd roll the craps.
Did you ever think you'd rolled craps?
Well, when that guy they was after us with that bogged down truck, I was wondering.
Right. That was the scariest part, right?
Yeah. And another thing was right before we went into Germany, we went into this little town, and as we got into the town, they really let us have it with some mortar fire and stuff. There was other troops in there already.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we finally found a place that wasn't preoccupied in a building, and about midnight, Captain Chitwood, he was the captain in charge of the INR, the Intelligence and Reconnaissance Platoon. I don't know why he selected me. He got me, and I went with him. We went into a cemetery. We checked all the crypts and big grave tombstones and stuff. And then we went up into the bell tower of the church, because artillery or mortar fire was hitting everywhere but right there. And we figured that they had a spotter in that bell tower. He had me stay on the ground, and he says, "I'll take care of anything that's upstairs."
Right.
And he went upstairs, but there was nothing there.
Yeah.
Next morning, before daylight, we found out why we had such a heavy rain of mortar or artillery fire. In that time, they were setting up a humongous artillery piece. I don't know what they call it, Big Bertha, or something like that, but it's a 280 millimeter artillery.
Uh-huh.
They're setting it up a little ways out of from out of the buildings. And then that morning, they fired that dude off, and we thought we had a direct hit because it blew the whole top off of that building we was in, the muzzle velocity.
Right.
It just sheared that thing off the top.
Wow.
And you can imagine what all those clay tiles sounded like.
Right.
All the roofs were clay tiles.
Right.
I was scared then.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah. I bet.
that thing, they only fired one round. But I think it was from about 20 to 30 miles that thing was capable of. It was just a psychological thing, see.
Right.
Because that shell was big enough that it would probably sound like a bomb that a plane might have dropped. And they had those crowds wondering where that thing came from.
Right. Right.
So,
Right. Wow. Well, it's a great story. Well, we're going to, what we do, we tape this on Wednesday at 1:30 over at KAMU on campus. Do you know where that is?
that's right behind Kyle Field.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. If you go on George Bush and turn into campus there on Houston Street, which is right there by the former students building there.
Yeah.
It's the one-story building that's right there on the left.
Yeah.
Is KAMU.
Yeah, I used to go in there every once in a while.
Right.
We had a special circuit that went out of there
Yeah.
to William Penn.
Right.
To a transmitter shaft.
Sure. Yeah.
Power out there.
Right. Well, that's the building. It's still there. That one-story building, and you can park back behind it if you want. You can just pull in behind the building and park back there. And there's a door on the back of the building. There's a ramp and a door back there. You can just go in that back door. You can park. There's some places that say 24-hour reserved, and you can park in one of those. Those are reserved for guests of KAMU, so you can park in one of those. And so if you can be there around 1:15 on Wednesday, and just wear whatever you want to wear, just a collared shirt or whatever you want to wear is just fine. And we just, you've seen the show, you know pretty much what we do. You're sitting in a chair, I'm sitting in a chair, and I'll just sort of lead you into conversation and from subject to subject, and we go about 27 and a half minutes, and we'll throw some of these pictures on there, and it's just a conversation between you and I, and we just sort of go straight through it. And then it'll actually be on the air. We're running about, anywhere from 5 to 6 weeks ahead right now. So it won't be on the air until probably December sometime in December more than likely.
Well, you have to have a little leeway.
Yeah. So it'll be a while before it's on the air, but I'll get you tape and DVDs of it and all that kind of stuff so you can share it with your family and all. So, and I appreciate you letting me tell your story. I think it's a good one. It's just a guy that just, went in and did his duty and served his country and went in harm's way and then came back and
Just
was a working man for a living.
Wasn't meant to be to not come back.
Right. You were one of the fortunate ones who came back, and I guess you knew a few who didn't come back. So yeah, right. As his war is. So we'll do it, and I will return these things.
The Surveyors had found an old road that they were afraid that the Germans was going to find it. It was grown over, but it would still have the brick work. A lot of them were made out of brick.
Mm-hmm.
And on this road there was 2 humongous pine trees about that big around.
Mm-hmm.
So they decided that they was going to drop those pine trees across that road in case they came down through there with trucks and stuff. They would have to, and it was a steep drop off. They would have to do some time delay there.
Right.
So anyway, I got sent out on that detail, me and 3 other guys, to give those engineers coverage in case there were some krauts out there in the snowbank.
Right.
And we looked like tar babies sitting out there in those snowbanks in our olive drab uniform.
Right.
And I was wondering what these guys had a guitar case for.
Uh-huh.
It was a chainsaw.
I'll be darned.
Had a chainsaw.
Yeah.
And when they fired that thing up my hair,
Oh man, because it was cold and that even made it louder, probably, right?
It dead quiet.
Yeah.
And when that thing fired off,
But they cut down the pine trees and put them in the road.
just just like that.
Yeah.
They knew what they were doing. They just,
Yeah.
thing fell across the road.
And you were there just with the rifle, just providing them cover?
We just took position four
Uh-huh.
directions, in case they got fired on from one
Right.
direction. We would have to fire. We were supposed to fire back.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. Oh, I'm glad you added that. We'll talk about that.
I didn't even know what was in it.